You need to grow a backbone, and how this doesn't mean selling your soul. Not sure if that's selling your soul. Anyway, welcome to another Keeping the Conversation Alive with myself. That's Will Perry. I hope you are well. Let me just get rid of that. You need to grow a backbone. That can be quite a confrontational, uncomfortable thing to hear, but you need to grow a backbone if you're in this situation. So let me just describe that a little bit. I often work with many of my clients find it difficult to say no. And that can be just a time stealer thing, saying no to people in a social situation. I had this recently where one of the group that I work with is just finding it really difficult to go on a weekly shop because people she knew were going, hello, having and stealing time, just having nice conversations. But she finds it very difficult to end a conversation because she's actually no. So I yes. Oh, getting absorbed because you don't want to be impolite or be perceived as impolite. Can you relate to that? So is that you? Saying no to family. Their families can be just awful in terms of oppressive of who they believe you are and who they treat you as. Rebuffing that and saying, I am not that, I won't be, or when your kids are involved and the family are kind of moulding and infecting your children with their story of you, the whole kind of myth in the family. I'll talk about that in other things, but negativity. Then you want to protect your kids from that, but you can't protect yourself from that. You can't say no to yourself or to your own family about that. You can't say no for yourself. You can say, whoa, stop, that's not nice. You're not being nice. I won't have that. No, stop. To be able to say that in your own family, so many people find difficult. Is that you? Can you relate to this? Ex-partners is a wonderful thing when we've been together, and you might know that I've stumbling saying it 3 times separated from marriages. Oh dear. So it's like, wow, what's wrong with me? What is it? So that's an inquiry that I've that's been painful and interesting, and has produced much. Indeed. So to ask me about that, but with ex-partners, we go from this kind of loving, trusting relationship to changing perception of who they are and who they really were, and that's normal. You have to go through that to be able to separate. And people that don't, who find it difficult to let go, are holding on to this false picture. Anyway. People with ex-partners then find it difficult to say no to them because they found it difficult to say no to them in the first place. But now they have to say no. And a classic example is that of when they come to collect the kids, if you've got kids involved. So, and again, I've dealt with this over many years. A classic one for me was a lady whose partner owned the house, but he was off with another woman and shacked up and bought a new house, even bigger. So he was having a nice old time. But what he did was, and I love this story for the impact of it, he was coming to collect the kids, just pushing past her at the door, coming in, oh, I need the toilet. But he'd use the downstairs toilet and leave the door open, which she said he never did before, and he'd have a poo. No, I love this because this is so animalistic. It's like weeing in the corners, like an animal weeing in the corners or something, alpha male. But he'd have a poo with the door open, which he said he'd never do before. And she was like, always like, then she'd go off into the other room. So she would be put out of place, wrong-footed in her own place, in her own home, even though we didn't live there anymore, but he paid for it. So she felt obliged, and she didn't feel empowered. She felt like she didn't have much power to say. And then when he'd finished, he would go into the kitchen. He would look at her letters, and he'd go through her letters, and look at them or open them, and say, you need to pay that, and just and then she'd go, and she'd feel. I mean, I'm saying it in a light way, but it was a very serious thing that she was traumatized by this and felt completely powerless. obviously I helped her change that and see that she could take her power back, and she could say no. And in those situations, she needed the letter from the solicitor to say, if you know, decease, you're not allowed to come into the house, and only by prior agreement with my client, and blah blah blah. And there are steps and stages that you go through, but it's available to everyone. But she didn't perceive this because she just felt powerless, and she didn't, so perception needs to change. And that's the whole point about this. Perception needs to change. And she got to the point where he didn't come in. He didn't push in. He didn't come in and do that animalistic thing. And she felt empowered. And it's crazy that just a small thing can make such a huge difference, but it starts with you saying no and that perception changing. For me, in a work situation, I had I'd always be like non-confrontational. I mean, God, hated. I like it now. I hated confrontational before, and if there was a confrontation, my heart would go like this. I'd be racing. I'd be shaking. Sometimes it would be so intense. My neck would be going like this, and I'd ultimately back down, try and keep the peace. Even if somebody was rude to me or something like that, I'd But then later on, it would be, wow, how dare they say that? Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I say that? Have you ever had that in a situation? So you need to grow a backbone in those situations. All of these situations, you need to grow a backbone, but it doesn't mean changing. In a confrontation I've had more recently, in a work one, somebody really obviously, well, just rude, a kind of narcissistic person came to me and told me, and then when I picked him, picked him up straight on that, I said, what evidence have you got that of me? Why are you saying that to me? I was like, what? Heart racing and everything like that, a bit shaky. But I would not let it go. I was like, how dare you say that to me? What evidence? I wasn't swearing, but when they repeated, I raised my voice. No, you speak to me on that. You've said that to me. Tell me why you've said that to me. Oh, I was just being general. No, you said it to me. Why you? I wouldn't let it go, which was awesome. And it was awesome because I stood my ground and I had my backbone. And it changed the outcome of the situation. I didn't go home stewing, feeling powerless. So in all these situations, it's about growing the backbone. But it doesn't mean that you need to change or sell your soul or change who you are or lose those lovely things about yourself that are your gift, your empathy, if there are empaths out there, you need to honour that. Absolutely. But you need to also grow the backbone so you don't take any shit. And protect yourself from the negative stuff. So stop giving yourself away to the people who don't appreciate you. Stop giving your power away. And that's absolutely what I guess my work is all about. But I just had to find the details of nuances of all the stuff because it encompasses everything. It encompasses life. So learning to say no is a powerful thing. Learning to say no. So my invitation to you is, who do you need to learn to say no to? When do you need to learn to say no? When do you need to grow a backbone? And it's a kind of controversial title. It's like, it's like, no, that would be aggressive. That isn't being true to me. That's being arrogant. It's not. It's not. You need to protect you because nobody else is going to protect you. You need to protect you. And if I say that's growing a backbone, I think you understand the nuances of what that is and how that works. And that's entirely appropriate and entirely important. It's really, really important to be able to say no in all these different examples of situations. So I guess my invitation to you, if you want to find out how, in the next step, take a look at the video I did. I did a video last week. It kind of replaced my webinar, and it's a really simple. I've kept it really, really simple. I've ditched all the kind of what you should do in a webinar. Anyway, you look at the video, you'll see because I explain it in there. But it's a really simple, just 30-minute video outlining kind of how this stuff implodes in us and holds us into the place that we don't want to be held in, and how changing this and saying no is a huge part of it. But it's not just learning to say no, it's so much more than that. It goes down to your deep, dark beliefs about yourself. So take a look at the video if you want to find out more. And I'm not selling you anything in the video. I just really want you to understand this and how transformational this is. Okay, many thanks. I hope you have an awesome rest of the week, rest of the day, rest of whatever it is that you're watching this on and when it is. If you're watching this via the emails, have an awesome rest of your Monday. That's what day it is today. Awesome. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.